Networking. As an introvert in management consulting, I know all too well firsthand how it can feel stressful, draining, and awkward. You walk into a crowded room full of strangers. Conversations are buzzing everywhere, people are shaking hands and exchanging LinkedIn profiles like it's second nature. And you find yourself with a drink in your hand, already wondering how long do you have to stay before you can politely sneak out. If you're an introvert, this probably feels familiar, but let's consider how many great opportunities we may let pass by just because networking events can feel so overwhelming and awkward. At its core, networking isn't about collecting business cards or schmoozing at some awkward events. It's about building meaningful relationships. With my job, I have to go to conferences where the real purpose is networking. Through networking, I get to know who's who in the industry, what they do, and build presence for my firm. I see it as planting seeds for relationships that can lead to meaningful opportunities down the line. But here's the thing, if you're an introvert, the problem isn't you or your lack of communication skills. It's that networking events are designed in a way that doesn't play to our strength. By the way, this video isn't just about introverts, shyness, or doubting if you deserve a seat at the table. I believe all these things apply here. So why is networking so stressful? Reason number one is self-promotion. Networking often feels like one big exercise at bragging about yourself in front of strangers. If you're an introverted person, talking yourself up may feel uncomfortable at best, painful at worst. I do believe it's a very important skill to learn and it definitely deserves a separate video just on this topic. Reason number two is energy drain. Extroverts usually get energized by social interactions, but introverts, it's the opposite. We recharge our batteries by being alone and being in a room full of people trying to juggle multiple conversations at once. It drains our battery fast. Reason number three is surface level conversations. Most networking events are full of small talk. What do you do? Where are you from? Busy day to day? And for introverts, that can feel unnatural. We'd much rather dive into deep, more meaningful conversations. The whole chat for 2 minutes and move on feels forced. So it's a mismatch with strength. Networking rewards people who are quick, charming, and love being in the spotlight, but introverts shine in depth, in thoughtfulness, and in listening. Of course, it feels awkward when the whole format is built for the opposite skill set. It's literally designed in a way that does not align to the way our brain and energy work. Still, networking doesn't have to feel like torture. We introverts have some amazing hidden skills that can actually make us amazing at making real connections. I'm going to share some life hacks that helped me connect authentically without pretending to be someone I'm not. It goes back to the love for people. If you are in any line of work that requires networking with people, that means it's likely your initial motivations for choosing this career were your desires to help people, impact people through a product or a service. And that's all networking really is, connecting with people. Yes, the format can feel stressful, but let's remember that at its heart, people really don't care about you, your flashy job title, or perfect small talk. What they care the most is how did you make them feel. They care about themselves and the agenda they brought into this networking event. So, the life hack. My wonderful colleague and mentor, Paul Oliverio, is so natural and insanely good at networking. So at some point I asked him how, and he suggested I try this networking framework that really helped me. It's called STAR and it gives you a 4-pillar framework that can literally allow you to have 15-minute conversation with absolutely anyone. So STAR stands for self, plus time, plus aspirations, plus relationships. People love talking about themselves, and if you're genuinely interested in someone, you can get to know them really well using this framework. Self means talking about them, who they are, what they do, what's their role, where do they work. Time means asking where they have been. So you can ask questions like, how long have you been in this role? What did you do before that? Aspirations means talking about where they're going. What do they want to achieve in this role? What's their vision for their company? And if the conversation is flowing and it's interesting, you can then move on to relationships if you feel comfortable asking if they're married, if they have kids. It always shows that the conversation is reasonably intimate if people are willing to share this kind of personal details. For introverts whose skill set involves deep listening, thoughtfulness, and the ability to build meaningful one-on-one relationships, this framework works wonders. And afterwards, you can connect with the person on LinkedIn and follow up, for example, with something that stood out during your initial conversation. It might be sending them an article, a video, or a book recommendation that was mentioned, and that potentially may lead to more communication and to a real opportunity down the line. To my earlier point, introversion isn't the only reason why people feel uncomfortable at networking events. I was recently facilitating a group coaching activity, and one of my mentees shared that for a long time he struggled with this notion of deserving a seat at the table when he was invited to important meetings at work with senior people who have way more experience, and everyone in the room immediately resonated with this. It reminded me of the imposter syndrome and how common that feeling really is. So I'm a digital technology expert, and a couple of years ago I started to specialize in digital health. So in this line of work I have to go to a lot of conferences with medical doctors and health executives. At work, I rarely feel like I question whether I deserve a seat at the table, but at such conferences, I can honestly say it does feel hard. In August last year, I went to this conference where I made a promise to myself, I'm going to say whatever I want to say. It's not going to be silly or inappropriate. It deserves to be heard. And so I found myself talking to these two senior doctors who transitioned into health executives. One thing led to another, and we were talking about longevity, the topic that I'm literally obsessed with. And I eventually said that I follow a longevity protocol from some of the recognized industry experts. They immediately assumed that I meant Brian Johnson. I just felt like I had to say, no, I follow female influencers in the space because women are not just small men. We have our needs, and yes, there are female influencers. We actually know what they're doing. And at the moment, I felt like I actually expanded their perspective, and they appreciated the pushback and more information. And the last piece of advice I want to give, set yourself an achievable goal when you go to a networking event. When you set yourself a goal, brain treats it as a problem to be solved, and dopamine, motivation neurotransmitter, plays a key role. Dopamine is released not just when you achieve the goal, but also when the brain anticipates progress towards the goal. Each step you complete gives your brain a little reward signal, reinforcing the behavior and motivating you to keep going. At my firm, we usually have annual big whole of the firm conferences. And at these conferences, we have special sessions dedicated to networking. Our CEO famously suggests before every session like this that by the end of the day, everyone should meet 50 new people. I'd say it's the right goal if you really want to push yourself hard, but if you want to ease into it and build your networking muscle, start with a goal that is more achievable. For example, it could be, I go to this conference and I'm going to have 2 to 5 meaningful conversations. So next time you walk into a networking event, think of it as an opportunity to have 5 great conversations. And even one conversation with the right person can change a lot. Now, I'd like to hear from you. What's been your most awkward experience networking as an introvert? And if you develop strategies that work, please share them in comments. If you found this helpful, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with your friend who dreads networking as much as you do. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.